I'm pretty sure when I was 30 years old, going to school, trying to figure out my way around SQL queries, I did not understand that easy what's a join. And now, as I am knee deep into code and Stripe and discussing with my business partners solutions, I came to revisit this and I was like, okay, this is something that 10 years ago it was so difficult for me to grasp and to understand, and now it's like, how? How is this difficult at all? So again, this is a basic SQL query. I'm dropping this here for shared knowledge. Um, the idea here is, sure, if you can interpret this, the initial portion that is kind of wrapped with parentheses over here is some sort of requirement, some sort of prerequisite to run the objective query that we want. What is the objective query, Daniel? The objective query is down here. So you can see, select a few fields, aka just a query. So select a few fields from this table here called uncollectible subscriptions. And you're like, okay, uncollectible subscriptions. I saw this name earlier. Yeah, you saw it. So this requirement or this import, as we call maybe in programming languages, is named uncollectible subscriptions here. So whatever we're doing between the parentheses, we are labeling the results as uncollectible subscriptions, and it's behaving like a normal table. And it's a normal table, you do a normal query and you consume it. So the bottom part, we are totally good. I don't think we need to look at this again. So I'm gonna do a couple things just for the sake of simplicity. I'm gonna make it kind of invisible. So here we go. Uh, the second part here, this portion, it is very, very much similar to what I just discussed. So this first line here, let me go here and say the same. So this first line goes very much in the same direction as the bottom one. So I'm graying this out to try to exclude from our focus here. So let's try to understand what's going on here. And obviously, this is where the meaty part is and where I'm going to talk about joins for 5 minutes. So, well, the initial part of any query, and we already know whatever this parenthesis or the content inside the parenthesis does, we already know it generates a subset or a table that will be consumed later on, and we're not focused on that. So to generate a table here, we are having a couple queries from other tables to generate this new third newly created table. Uh, okay, which couple tables are talking about, Daniel? So again, let's skip the select part for now, because this is where we define, we already know the columns of our query, the content that is going to be shown in a visual way. But the from is where the magic will happen. So, okay, Daniel, you said we're going to do a new table. We're going to generate a new table of results that's going to have some specific columns, and they are going to be derived from a few other tables. How many? Let's talk about it. Well, okay, two tables, subscriptions tables and invoices table. Subscriptions table and invoices table. Um, for the sake of simplicity, we don't need that. We do not need that. We could simply go and say uh, like this, right? That will be, oops, totally okay to do that. Um, And if I have done that, I would not need this portion here, right? And I could have done this that I'm doing right now. Okay, little bit difficult to do this. Yeah, here we go. So, and then I would be able to come here and delete this as well. So I hope this is simpler now because now I just removed a bunch of prefix and now you know why. We are consuming from the subscriptions table and we are consuming from the invoices table. And now you ask me, Daniel, what is this between the two tables? We are talking about an inner join. We're talking about joining tables. What is a what is joining a table and what's an inner join? And what other options are there if there was no inner join? What would be here? So we could have inner join, we could have left join, we could have a right join, or we could have a full join. Um, I definitely could have simplified and just showed you like this. The one we are using here is the inner join. But let's go and talk about all the other four or all the other three. So we are here in this analysis trying to consume data from two different tables because we need to mix information or to extract specific information that is contained partially in one table, partially in another table. Daniel, I do not understand. I understand you don't. So let's look here at the query at the top. It's very hard to go into the details without showing the schema of every table. But also, if I did that, you would probably think, oh, this is getting more overwhelming. So try to follow along as I say. Date and total is uh, information information contained into invoices table, and it's not contained into the subscriptions table. I'm freezing here with the naming because I'm like, did I change everything correctly? Yes, I did. Uh, as I said, this S field is a way of renaming fields, columns, values that you want to rename. So again, hypothetically, I could come and do this. So let me scratch this for a second so we make this a little bit simpler to see. So I will scratch this for a second. And by scratching, I mean hiding from our view for a second. Yeah. So again, see what I'm doing? I'm trying to breaking down a bigger problem and making it into a smaller subset of the problem. So now we have information that you want to output that originally based from the invoices table. And I can just again, for the sake of making super clear, I could tag this like uh, like this, so we can see there is a there is a subset of information that I want to extract this newly created table that we're going to use down here that pertains to the invoices table. And there is another content block that as you can imagine, pertains to the is contained into the subscriptions table because we want to join both tables together and we want to have an output that joins content from one table and from another table. We need to use a join. A inner join is a feature that allows you to check, given a key that you're going to select, check if that key is present here and if that key is present here at the same time. If that key is presented in both places, then a inner join is going to result everything that matches. So I have 3 records, but only the first 2 are present in both sides. I'm going to return only those 2 as the end result. It must be present here. It must be present there. It must be present in subscriptions table. The same key must be present in invoices table as well. Um, Daniel, which key are you talking about? Well, clearly the key that I'm referring to is this one, customer ID. So the query is going to parse the subscriptions table to find all customer IDs. The query is going to parse the invoices table and go over all customer IDs, and it's going to return all the invoice content related to that customer, all the subscription content related to that customer ID, and it's going to match both into a subset, into a temporary table in memory that's going to have all the available columns from both sides. Then that subset done here is going to get a business rule operator or database query rule applied to it. And in this case, invoices data status, aka the data content that came from the invoices table, the status should be equal to uncollectible. Everything that's not uncollectible, you throw away. And the date of the invoices should be greater than 2023 January 1st. Daniel, I think I understood. So you're saying we're gonna match the 2 tables together. We're gonna see if there is a customer Daniel on this table, and if there is customer Daniel on this table, and there is customer Daniel on this table, we you grab everything from Daniel here, everything from Daniel here, and output. Okay, cool. That seems reasonable. What is left join? Glad you asked. Left join is a way of saying, you know what? For the purpose of my analysis, I want to have one table as a source of truth. I want to continue building on top of one table. Um, this table tells me pieces of information that I do not want to lose. I don't wanna have an intersection only of things that match between 2 tables. I want this table to be the bigger reference and this table here only to fill the gaps. That's what a left join and a right join does. So when you're talking about left join, you tell the computer, hey, the table on your left is the one who has the source of truth, the one that has the content that you want to keep stable, aka in this case, subscriptions table. So in the subscriptions table, you have a bunch of customer IDs and you have all the subscriptions available in the company or in your data set. On the right side of your table, you might or not have the same customer IDs. You have some customer IDs that match the customer IDs in subscription table, and you have some customer IDs that do not match the subscriptions table. I don't know why, but there are some um, customer IDs that are absent from the subscription tables, but they are present in invoices table. Therefore, what this is going to do is we're going to keep the subscriptions table here, and we're going to fill the data. Tum, 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 tum. Oh, skip, skip, dum, 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 skip. And every time we do not have a match, we're going to fill the value with null. So when I mention skip, basically I'm saying fill the value with null. Customer Mary is in the subscriptions table, but when we go to the invoices table, we do not find Mary over there. Mary gets a null on the invoices date and invoices total field. We don't know why Mary is not showing. We don't care. Customer John is not on the subscriptions table. He is in the invoices table, aka there's no subscription for John, but there are invoices for John. During this left join operation, John is lost. John is lost in translation. So we're gonna go line by line. Daniel, yeah, sure. Daniel has a match. We're gonna go Mary. I see Mary here in subscription. I don't see Mary there. Okay, no. Okay, end. Wait, what about John? John is lost. We don't care about someone that lives in invoices table, so we drop John. And John does not exist in the end resulting table. As you probably can imagine, this is a way to keep one side uh, more stable, creating a baseline for your operations. The other way around is obviously kind of the inverse, the right join. The right join behaves the same way. Subscriptions table, join, right join, invoices table. Invoices becomes the default, the standard, the baseline. In that sense, what happens is we are going to keep everyone for invoices table, even if they are not present on subscriptions table. So remember I gave the example of Mary and John. Mary was present in the subscription table but did not have a corresponding invoice table. She got a null. John was present in invoices table and did was not present in subscription. He was dropped. Now it's the other way around. So when we do the left join, Daniel was gonna be in both. Daniel's cool. Mary originally present only on subscriptions table, but no reference in invoices. She's lost. She's not gonna pertain this end result where we did the right join. But John is present on invoices table. So remember, we're gonna keep invoices table stable. Invoices table stable. So we're gonna keep it as is. And when we try to look up John on the subscriptions table, there is no reference for John in subscription ID, customer ID, status. Remember, the problem with Mary was she did not have an invoice date and invoice total. Now the problem with John is he will not have subscription ID, customer ID, and status. So here we get uh, null, 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 three null values, null values into those columns for his record. So you understand the metaphor. Left join keeps one table stable and fills with null the missing records and drops the ones on the other table they are not pertaining to the locked one in the left. Right is exactly the opposite. And a full join is actually the most comprehensive in the sense of I take it all. So In a full join, I would have Mary and I would have John, as I would have obviously Daniel. Daniel would be with all values populated correctly because Daniel has a perfect intersection and Daniel was found in both tables. Mary would have three columns with empty fields. John and the other two populated. John would have three populated columns and two columns with null values. When I said empty fields, I meant to say null values, right? And John would have two with null values. And everyone in the table, the three in my example, would be there. So again, where the inner field, in my example, my tables with three records, right? In my example, um, in the inner join, we would have only one final resulting record. In the left join, we would have always two folks, Daniel and Mary, and the other one, right join, Daniel and John. And in the full join is the only example where the resulting temporary generated table would have the three records and a bunch of null values in between those properties. So again, this is the difference between the joins. It all depends on how much you want to narrow or what's the purpose, exactly purpose of your data query. So as I was saying, this subscription you did the joins based on this criteria. You put this as a constraint to your query as well. The result would be a row or a table with one row in my hypothetical example, and that table would have those five columns. And if you, for convenience, want to label it to something that's more meaningful, you can, because if you do such a thing, you can come here and query for this for the simpler um, uh, label that you created. If you had not, you probably would have to use the full form like it is here. But because in our specific case we did such a thing, it was more suitable for our needs. Um, yeah, that's it for now. I hope you do well now. I hope everything's fine. And if you need anything, let me know. Bye.